Hi guys, I hope you're having a great day today. In this video, I'm going to be looking into the question, who's got a crush on you? What do they like best? And will they make their interest and intentions known to you? There are three groups to choose from. Group 1 is the Amethyst. Group 2 is the Cherry Quartz. And group 3 is the clear quartz. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you'd like to jump ahead. And up next, a close-up photo of the crystals to help you better make your selection. Hi, group 1. You chose the Amethyst. So let's start by taking a look at who's got a crush on you right now. Okay, we have the Knight of Cups, Justice, and the Sun. So with these energies, I'm hearing close to home. So it feels like somebody that's in your physical environment as opposed to someone that has caught sight of you online. This can be somebody that is sort of a regular at places that you go to, like a bar or a restaurant that you frequent. This can be somebody that goes to the same store, the same market as you. Somebody that is able to kind of see you out and about. And it feels like it's somebody that you've already had like friendly conversation with. There's a sense that it's someone you're very cordial with. You might even just kind of like smile at this person, or you've said hello to this person up to this point in time, but it's been kind of limited in terms of your conversation with one another. And this is a sense too with Justice, that this is someone that's been in that kind of ambient environment for quite some time. Somebody that has seen you sort of grow and evolve over time into like a different version of yourself, or somebody that it's kind of like they might have found you attractive at first, but there could be something in terms of like, this phase of their life that they're at right now. This could be somebody that was married or in a relationship like when they first met you or first caught sight of you, but there's a sense that like circumstances have changed for them. They may be somebody who is like looking for love now, or they're open to connections and relationships, and so something where they'd found you to be like just physically attractive or like a nice person. There's a sense now of some kind of romantic interest that is developing and building with this person. It feels like this is somebody that would be in kind of the same economic bracket as you, even if this is someone that could be like a business owner or like a manager or a proprietor. It feels like there's something where you're on level playing field with one another, financially speaking. This is somebody, though, that feels to be maybe more experienced than you, and this can even just represent somebody that, was maybe married before and they've gone through a divorce, or, the nature of like the life that they've lived, or the experiences they've had in love and romance. It's different than what you've had at this particular point in time, so there is like a level that they're more mature than you in some sort of way, although there definitely could be an age difference between the two of you. That it feels like this is somebody that either has a very like outgoing personality, they look very young for their age, or it's something where it's kind of, and I'm hearing age is just a number, so there definitely could be like an age difference between the two of you, that feels that it's not substantial enough that it is like discouraging this person, where you would seem like not a reasonable or like an appropriate option for them. They see themselves as somebody like, okay, they've got a crush, they've got attraction towards you, and it's definitely the energy of kind of like you factor into the realm of like realistic possibilities for them, but they definitely bring some kind of like other experience to the table, romantically, or even in terms of like life experience. It's possible also, though, that you might not know that this person was married before or was in a relationship before, like when you first encountered them. And that just mostly feels like it could be something, maybe they didn't wear a wedding ring, for example, or if it was just like a long-term connection. It's almost like it's such a surface level situation that you just wouldn't have known that detail about this individual. It's something they would have been aware of, but like you wouldn't have been aware of. So let's get into the energy of what they like best about you, or what they find to be most attractive about you. Okay, we've got the Lady of the Lake, absolute truth, courage, self-respect, responsibility. Cat, independence, healthy boundaries. And the Cow, nourishment, abundance, asking and receiving. So there's a sense that this person sees you as very free-spirited. You're the kind of person that you're not afraid to kind of like walk your own way. There may be something very unique about your sense of style, your sense of dress, that exudes a level of confidence, and kind of like you look fashionable, but you're a trend setter. You're not just someone who's kind of, wearing whatever is popular as far as like they are concerned, although this is noteworthy that they're no fashion experts. So this may be somebody that is kind of just very simple in terms of how they dress, but they notice something about you that it's kind of like they might not know much about fashion, but you definitely stand out from the crowd. You look very fashionable. You look very poised. You look very put together. This person feels that you're a very elegant individual. There's something in the way that you walk, that you move, that you speak, almost something where you leave a lot to be discovered. There's a lot of mystery about you. Even if you're like very friendly, you might even be the kind of person that gets kind of chatty when you're nervous, or just kind of like you bring like an energy of you're not just a wallflower, like you'll engage in conversation with people. There's a sense that as they've been maybe like eavesdropping on your conversation or any sort of exchange you've had with them up to this point, yeah, it's touched on surface level things, but there's a sense of mystery about you. Like there's a layer of depth to you that is very intriguing. A sense that even though you're very friendly on the surface in some sort of way, that there's more to you than meets the eye, that translates in some sort of way with how you dress or how you present yourself or how you move, how you kind of walk through the world or through their world, that stands out from other people in that environment, in that situation, or other people that they've encountered before. There's a sense too that this can definitely be a person that is kind of like a familiar face at like a bar, a restaurant, a club, a store, a supermarket that you've gone to and then has like seen, or like part of your community in some sort of way, where they may have even like seen you out and about with other people, not knowing like, is that just a friend? Is it somebody that they're dating? It feels like they don't know too much about like your personal life or your romantic history, but they've seen you on occasions where you're with other people, and then they've also seen you when you're out alone. And there's a sense of there's an energy here that you're in a very empowered energy when you're on your own. And there's something that can kind of tie into the idea that they see you as somebody with really high standards, like whoever you've had on your arm or in your presence in the past, it's almost like that person or that group of people diminished you in some way or dimmed your light. And since circumstances have changed for you, maybe this is like multiple occasions where they've seen you with different people and then they've seen you alone. It's like you're someone who's not afraid to like go out on your own. You're not afraid to like hold your head high on your own. Even in what could be assumed to be like the aftermath of a breakup, there's a sense of like you come out better from that. You don't give this energy of someone who's been embittered by life. There's a sense that there's almost like a gentleness to you, that all the tragedies of life has been unable to kind of touch or tarnish in some sort of way. This person feels that it's like a privilege to access your energy. Even people that they've seen you out and about, there's a sense that you're not someone who gives off an energy of being desperate. You're very choosy with who you let near you. The company that you keep or that you've kept in the past has been agreeable, likable, and when it stopped being the case, this is something where they're almost just assuming you didn't kind of like just stoop or settle. You took the trash out. You got rid of those people and those circumstances that might have made you kind of retreat into your shell, or become kind of quiet, sort of dim a version of yourself down. And as they've kind of seen you or witnessed you or come across you at these various points in time, it's reasonable to assume that you've been through, ups and downs, because that's just the nature of life. But it's almost like you get better with age, you become more graceful through these periods of transition. And so there's a sense that maybe at this point in your life, or even from the lens that they're now able to kind of look at you now that this person is like single and available, they may be like talking to other people or like casually dating, but there's an energy that this is somebody who's not currently in a relationship. So you would be a viable possibility for like a romantic partner. There's a sense of sort of like, I got to earn access to this person's life. You're giving off like an independent energy where you might be friendly, but you're not just going to let anybody in. And so this is something that kind of presents you as somebody like you hold yourself up on a pedestal, but you're very grounded, you're very down to earth, you're very gentle, you're very able to kind of like relate to people, or you've been very kind to them. This may even be something where, depending on the nature of like what this person, because it feels like in some capacity this may be like in a professional setting, you've encountered this person, so they could be like a shopkeeper, they could like work in a store, in a restaurant, in a bar, something like that, work in your community in some way, that you, unlike other people who might have been kind of like snippy with them or rude to them, you're somebody that has always been very like nice. You've always been very cordial. You've not just kind of ignored this person or looked through this person, but you've acknowledged them. Or they've watched you in action with other people. They've watched you with shopkeepers, with waiters, with kind of like, people in sort of like a service industry in some sort of way, or in people of like various kind of economic dispositions, and there's a sense that you talk to everyone like an equal. You show everybody respect, which it feels like this person is really attracted to the fact that you seem to have a really good heart. You have a good head on your shoulders, but you have a really good heart. And so there's a sense that they're very attracted to that aspect, that like the world has not made you embittered. It has not closed you down. It's not made you become like a rude person. Even if you're picky with who you have around you, you treat everybody with a level of respect that it feels like is very endearing, very heartwarming to them. So let's get a little bit more about what else they like about you or find attractive about you. Okay, we have miracles, ancient wisdom, deep emotions, unknown feelings, past life influences, and courage, strength, fierceness, and family. Yeah, so this is more that energy about this person has witnessed you at some point in time with another person, like with another romantic partner, somebody that might not have brought out the best in you, or what might have been a very troubled or difficult situation. And then there's like the experience of, after that circumstance ran its course, that person left, or you got rid of that person, like whatever it looks like, there's been like a powerful transformation in you, some kind of glow up, like it took courage to move away from a broken experience, or there's a sense that you still move through the world in the aftermath of whatever that was, whoever this was that was like in your energy, in your life, in your experience, that this person may have had some kind of an awareness of, that you've come out almost more empowered on the other side of that. You've come out as somebody that is still smiling, is still, generous with your energy and your time. Somebody that radiates a very strong and powerful light that has almost been strengthened through adversity. There's a sense that they are really attracted to the fact that you held yourself to a high enough standard to move away from energies that were only dragging you down, or to, kind of pick up the pieces emotionally or of your life in the aftermath of like, a bad breakup or something that might have been kind of toxic. And you did that with grace. You put yourself back together again in a beautiful way. This can definitely be somebody that saw you in like a last relationship, or somebody that you were dating, somebody that didn't treat you right, didn't talk to you right, like a toxic or a karmic connection. And so there's a sense that sort of like they had like an outsider's kind of view into what apparently was a very like troubled or toxic or like painful situation. They might have even kind of witnessed sort of when you first were embarking on your own, like in the aftermath of that breakup or something, where you may have had to set boundaries or shut someone out, and they saw that period of time where, maybe that high standard is you just held yourself to yourself. You didn't just kind of move on to the next thing. You healed, you came to peace with certain things. You did that work, whatever that looked like. And now they've witnessed that there's like another version of you. They're very attracted to your ability to metamorphosize, to roll with the punches of life, and to transform yourself, to not just kind of like, be sort of trampled by experiences in life, and then it's kind of like game over and you move like a ghost through the world. You're the type of person that it's like you have the ability to regenerate, or to rise from the ashes, like a phoenix from the ashes. And that's something that they find very attractive. I'm hearing very sexy. So it's something like this version of you is something that was clearly not built through ease. It is not a version of you that was kind of just handed to you. You've forged this version of you that this person is now in a position within their life of being able to look at you as kind of like, okay, I'm on the hunt, I'm on the prowl, I'm somebody that, has an open heart, or I'm looking for love, or I'm looking for romance. And you're somebody that, I don't know all the details of what you've been through, but I've witnessed some kind of like process of transformation. And so you're coming across as like a very radiant essence, a very confident person, which is deeply attractive to them. But then it's also an aspect about like your resilience, not to just like put up with shit, but to kind of like move away from things that are dragging you down. Even if that means you have to like step out into the unknown, you have to move on your own for a while. You have to take yourself out on those dates, or, you had to kind of like make the decision to move in the direction of things that were better for you. And so this is something that this person finds to be very attractive, not just in terms of like, I want to take you out on a date and have dinner with you, but they see in you somebody that like these qualities that just sort of translate in your energy or in how you're living your life at this particular moment in time. That's something that speaks to like, I would want something like that in a partnership. It feels like you're very much the opposite of whoever they had last been in a relationship with, that might have been very like, very needy, very fragile, very maybe embittered by certain life circumstances, and kind of punished other people for that, for like the mistakes others had made in their past. Like that's the experience this person came out of. And so you are presenting this kind of energy of somebody that, even though they don't know you or like know you very well, there's a sense that kind of like you you're radiating some sort of a glow up that attracts them because it's so different from people that they've experienced before who kind of like crumbled or you know, maybe didn't get their way in a certain capacity, and it sort of brought out the worst in those people. You're different than that. So let's take a look and see if this person is going to make their intentions or their interest in you known soon or at all. Okay, we've got embracing, stillness, and enlightenment. So with these energies, I am hearing I want to get to know you better, but with this stork right here, in this embracing energy, it feels like this is somebody that doesn't feel that it's quite yet time for them to approach you. Like there's an aspect of them that kind of just likes to watch you in this sort of secret admirer energy, because there's a sense that you are giving off a totally different vibe, maybe in terms of like when they first encountered you or first met you. Like it's clear you've gone through some sort of transformation, or you're in the midst of a transformation, and there's a sense of kind of like, I don't want to interrupt your stride. I don't want to cramp your style. I don't want to, you know, kind of approach you. And maybe you're friendly on the surface, but then, you know, you shut me down, romantically speaking. Like, I don't know if you're looking for love or romance at this particular point in time. And so there's a sense that they want to take an opportunity to kind of just like observe you from this angle or this perspective for a little while longer, but before it's like full sail ahead, before they're like, okay, I want to speak on these things, like enlightenment. They want to make that known. They want to announce that to you. This may be something that they could have like somewhat recently come out of another relationship. They may have people that they're talking to or that they're casually dating, but there's something that like you're different, you're unique from anybody else that's like on their roster. Or, you know, they could even be somebody that's sort of like, I don't know if I'm ready to get back out there and date yet. Like they're still licking some wounds, emotionally speaking. And so there's a sense that they have their eye on you, but they're almost kind of like giving themselves an opportunity to kind of like mourn the loss of a situation, you know, maybe kind of like deal with some things emotionally, some kind of frustration over their previous experiences. Or this could be somebody that's been sort of like single for a period of time, and there's a sense of like, I see potential as more than just kind of like a good time in a very temporary sense with you. So I need to kind of like get my ducks in a row before I present myself, before I kind of, you know, have that confidence and that courage to approach you directly. This almost feels like something that after the first of the year, it's kind of giving springtime energy with this little sailboat right here. Like as the weather warms up, this may be when they're ready to kind of like make that move. Something where even if there's kind of, and this is interesting, I'm hearing rumors and gossip. So it may even be somebody in your community that sort of knows that you come through a breakup. You've come through like a period of change, and they're trying to respect that. They don't know exactly what happened, but the word around town is you've just kind of like closed out a heavy cycle. You've let someone go, you've released something, or you're trying to kind of like reinvent yourself or rebuild your life in some kind of way that ties into this energy as well of sort of like, I don't want to interrupt that process. I don't want to get in the way. I don't want to derail you from like your mourning process or what you need to do to kind of adjust to a new normal for yourself. So I'm not going to rush in. I'll wait. I'll give this a period of time until it feels like, okay, it's, you know, been long enough. I can no longer sort of like sit here and observe and wait. And then this is somebody that wants to kind of like move in towards you. It may even be something that there's sort of like, for those of us in the northern hemisphere where we're just kind of, we're on the cusp of winter. kind of like hibernation mode, cold weather, all that stuff. This could be somebody that's sort of like, I want to wait for the springtime because I want to go do outdoor activities with you. I'd like to kind of like take you out. I'd like to, there are fun things to do when not everybody's sort of like shut down in their little caves, but that there's things to do. There's like more of a nightlife or different events that are happening. Something where it's almost kind of like they're plotting and planning in that capacity, which ties in with this energy of sort of like readying themselves to move towards you, and also kind of respecting and admiring kind of the vibe that you're giving off at this particular point in time when they're able to kind of catch sight of you. So let's get some initials. This could be a first, middle, or last name, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. T, Y, B, J, F, W, U, E, L, I, T, O, S, U, and W. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you'd like a personal reading, there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another video. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. You chose the cherry quartz. So let's start by taking a look at who's got a crush on you right now. Okay, we have the moon, Three of Cups, and the Seven of Pentacles. So I'm hearing with these older gentlemen, so this can either be somebody that's like older than you, or this can be somebody that is very traditional, very old-fashioned in terms of their values, the way that they live their life. This may be somebody, it almost feels to be somebody that like works with their hands, like a crafts person almost. They may live kind of like a simpler sort of life, or this person could even be like an artist or an artisan, somebody that has like a deep appreciation for antiques, antiquities. This can be somebody that is wealthy and, kind of invests in the finer things in life rather than sort of, the fast-paced kind of gizmos and gadgets of the modern era, the modern world. This may also be somebody, it feels like this is somebody that would be almost like an old acquaintance, or somebody that is associated with like an old place of employment or place of business where you used to work, where this could be like a client or a customer. This might have even been somebody that was like a coworker, that you've parted ways with. You haven't maybe seen this person in a while. You haven't thought about this person in a while. But it feels like they've recently kind of like come across you, most likely on social media, or they've encountered somebody that you know in common, that had brought you up in conversation. And so it's piqued their interest in you. This can be somebody that's in the process of, kind of like, it almost feels like they may have like requested you on social media. They may be following you on social media. Maybe they've been kind of like following you on social media, but like checking out the things that you post on a more regular basis, because there's a sense of kind of like how you are at this stage in your life. It feels to be something that like the time is right, or they're in a position to kind of like offer you something that they couldn't before. So this may be somebody that when you first encountered them, they were sort of like starting out on something professionally. This might have even been somebody that you like worked with that either got fired or laid off, and you just never like heard from them again, or they could have like left the profession or the industry to start to go do something for themselves. And so there's a sense that they become more established in some sort of way, and now are kind of in this position of like looking for love, looking for romance. They've taken an interest in you in some sort of way. It feels like this is somebody that you might have almost, there could have been like flirtation with this person in the past, but there may have been something where if there was an age difference, they thought that that would have been like an issue before. But it feels like they don't think that way anymore. But it also feels to be something that they just might have been in a position in their life where they were focused on other sorts of goals, and sort of like romance was the last thing on their mind when you were dealing with them, or you weren't giving off the vibe of like somebody that they would look at as like a companion. They might have even thought that you wouldn't have been interested in them, but this is somebody that's kind of like they're wanting to come out of the woodwork in some sort of way. It feels like because there was always this level of attraction towards you, but it's something that it feels like now that has been renewed in some sort of way. Maybe it's something that they've heard about you through like a third party, or through kind of like looking you up online, where your life is very different. You're doing different things. You're looking good. It looks like, you've got a lot going for yourself. And so there's a sense that they're almost feeling like maybe this was a missed opportunity in the past because the time is now. So let's take a look and see what this person likes best about you. What do they find to be most attractive about you? Okay, we have the wind fairy, thoughts, words, intellectual analysis, disruption, and the dragon, power and strength. So with these energies, I'm hearing mover and shaker. So this person sees you as somebody who, maybe questions things, but in a really good way. You're somebody that you don't just go with the program. You don't just go with the flow of things. If it feels that like there's a better way to do something, there's a more optimal way to do something, or you're somebody who's not afraid to kind of like stand up and speak your truth in the face of, authority or something that is inherently kind of like wrong or against your sort of moral principles. You're not just going to bury your head in the sand and look the other way, but you take a stand for something. There's something about you being like a fighter in some sort of way, or like a feisty kind of energy that this person absolutely adores about you. They might be somebody who's kind of calm, cool, and collected in their disposition, more of an observer, somebody that may be very kind of like choosy with their words, kind of like, a man of few words, but when they speak, there's power to it. And they see you as somebody who's like the polar opposite of that. Yeah, you know when to kind of like sit and listen, but you're somebody that can really give people a run for their money in terms of like your spicy attitude in some sort of way, but it's not like you just tell people off. This person's very attracted to your intelligence and your wit, your sense of humor. Even the ways in which you're able to kind of like weaponize silence to prove a point. They feel that is kind of like, it balances out their approach to things very well, to where there's almost a sense that this person may be kind of like, wow, you really are the yin to my yang. You're kind of like the other half of me. Like if I were, as emboldened as you, kind of like imagine how my life would have turned out, or the way in which it's almost like people have no choice but to respect you. because you maybe don't mince words, you don't sugarcoat things. You're very kind of like abrupt with your truth. You get to the heart of the matter, but you're never wrong in that sense. They see you as somebody that is not, you don't try to like demean or diminish other people with something as far as like the clarity and intensity with which you express yourself. Like you can be kind and cordial, but you also stand up for yourself. You don't back away from a fight or an argument, like, verbally. If somebody is kind of like giving you a hard time, you'll hold your own and you'll bark back. And there's a sense of like, they find that to be very attractive. This is somebody that is also, they feel almost like protective of you in some way. They've witnessed people kind of like ruffle your feathers, or they've witnessed you being dealt a very unfair hand of cards. Maybe, certain life circumstances that happened when they were last in contact with you, and kind of the ways in which you've overcome those things. This person finds that to be very attractive. They may have witnessed people in positions of authority or power, maybe even professionally, kind of keeping opportunities from you, giving you a hard time, targeting you, gaslighting you, being kind of like threatened by your intellect. And this is also somebody that feels like you really know yourself. You're very confident within yourself. You're not afraid to be yourself. And that may be something that triggers other people's, like your light triggers other people's demons. And this person has witnessed firsthand how you've kind of gotten the short end of the stick on account of that. But there's a sense that you stay very true to yourself. And so they're very attracted to that in terms of like, they feel like you can take care of yourself or you can hold your own, but there's this urge to kind of like be a protector in some sort of way. Like they don't like when people give you a hard time. They admire the fact that you're able to kind of advocate for yourself, but there's a sense of kind of like you've had to walk a very difficult road through this ability to kind of like be this disruptor, a system breaker, breaker of chains. You're not somebody that's just going to kind of, roll over and go with the flow. You're going to speak your truth. You're not just going to go along with the status quo, but they almost see you as like an innovator. Or when you bring things up, you're right. You're right as far as like efficiency is concerned. You're right as far as like, things that are unfair. They see you as somebody maybe that even kind of like advocates for other people. Maybe that's something you do right now, or you're in the process of trying to do, in terms of volunteer work, in terms of something you do professionally. A passion project, some kind of interest, things you put on social media even, that there's a sense of almost like you're not afraid to be kind of like the outspoken one. You're not afraid if your truth turns you into kind of like an outcast. When everybody else is sort of just ignoring things, you're the person that's going to stand up and point out the elephant in the room. And so they find that to be very refreshing, very attractive. And it's also something that it feels like they're attracted to the fact that without knowing that you do this, you stimulate this protector energy within them. Like they don't want to kind of like come towards you and diminish you in any sort of way, but it's like there's almost a sense of like, I want to stand beside you so that people think twice before messing with you, because you're very kind of like gifted in bringing clarity or pointing out uncomfortable truths, not to judge other people, but as a way to kind of like cut through fog and illusions in order to be able to create things or perspectives, or like shift people's attitude and energies in the direction of something that is more harmonious, that is more efficient, that is more effective, that is more compassionate. They also see you as somebody who's a humanitarian, and it feels like that is very attractive to them as well. So maybe things that had happened professionally in the past, there could have been something where you could have stood up for other people's, rights, as far as like pay or the nature of the work that was happening or whatever that looks like. And you might have gotten a lot of pushback from authority, sort of like, well, that's not in the SOP. That's not how we do things. And you might have like even advocated on behalf of other people and it almost like fell on deaf ears, or maybe gained you a reputation as like a troublemaker in some sort of way, but this person really respects it because like that needed to be said, or you stood up to someone that everyone cowered in the face of, and there's a sense of like this person is very attracted to the fact that even if you were intimidated or this person gave off like a larger than life personality, you didn't back down. You brought your spiciness to the table and gave this person a run for their money. And so there's a sense that that is something that they find just in terms of like a human quality, like there should be more people like you in the world. So they're very attracted to that. So let's get a little bit more about what they like, what they are attracted to about you. Okay, we have duality, many meanings, misunderstanding, power over difficulty, reclaiming your power, and river of blessings, releasing constraints. So this again is something where this person is really attracted to your use of words, the way that you are very tactful in your delivery of maybe even harsh or uncomfortable truths, but you're somebody that really stands for the truth. You hold people to a high standard. You hold people accountable. You point out flaws within systems or injustices, iniquities, even standing up for yourself where it would be easier to kind of just take scraps, just settle for what you're given. And you're somebody that is almost like operating in that energy of like, I'm not just going to settle for less than I deserve. And I'm not going to let other people be, you know, treated like shit or downtrodden in some sort of way. You're the person that will kind of like stand up in the face of something even when it's not popular, even when you know it's not going to get you a lot of support, even when they may have witnessed people kind of like leaving you out on the lurch, abandoning you in your time of need because you chose to question something. And so now they're seeing kind of like the aftermath of that. You might have taken a lot of losses for that in the past, or just this being kind of like part of your disposition, this feistiness, this spicy aspect to your personality and to your nature. And it feels like they're at a place in their life right now where they value that, where they almost see you as kind of like a firecracker, or somebody that's kind of like, wow, you really would hold me to a higher standard. With you, life would be exciting. Even if we're just sitting around, you know, watching a movie, it's like the things that you say or the questions that you ask, they're very thought-provoking. This person's very like intellectually attracted to you. They're attracted to the way that your mind works, that you read between the lines, that you question things, and that you're also open-minded. You don't just kind of like bulldoze through situations. You're not somebody that kind of like imposes your agenda on others. You're able to hold your own in terms of like discussions or, you know, like presenting your view on things, but you're also a very open-minded person, which it feels like attracts them in the sense of sort of like, not only could there be like a good romantic connection that's possible, but it would be something where it's like it would be, life would be interesting. Or in the times where they've talked to you about things in the past, even just casual conversation, it's almost like you've said things that are very thought-provoking, or the way that you phrase certain things, it's like, I never thought of it like that before. I never questioned something like that. I never looked at things from that perspective. So you've already kind of like opened this person's eyes in some sort of way. And there's a sense of like this person almost feeling like, I would love to just have dinner with you with no kind of like, oh, we gotta leave, or we gotta be this place, but kind of just with a very open-ended time not being a factor, and just kind of like talk to you about all the things that go far beyond like surface level conversation, because they see you as someone very intelligent. You know your own mind as well. You're not just somebody that's like a sheep or a follower. You're somebody that, whatever your opinions are, however you're living your life, there's a sense that kind of like you had to fight for your place in the world probably your whole life. And so there's a lot of respect, it feels like, that they have for you. It's attractive that you're not just kind of, you don't just smile and nod to keep the peace, but that you're somebody who has carved out a very unique niche for yourself, or like you continuing to exist in this very bright and bold energy is a testament to kind of like your strength as an individual. And they're very attracted to the idea of kind of like what time spent in your company, intellectual, emotional exchanges with you, what that could bring about in terms of, they almost feel like, this almost feels like something where they know, this is interesting. They're very attracted to you because they know you'd trigger the hell out of them. But it's a sense of kind of like, I think I need that at this point in my life. I think that would actually be good for me. Because I've dealt with, maybe this is like in terms of what this person does, like their position, their social position. They dealt with a lot of yes men, a lot of people that are kind of just like, because of who they are, they don't question anything. They don't stand up to this person. They kind of just smile and nod, and whatever they say goes. You're somebody who pushes back. And so it's very exotic to this person in terms of like the world they come from, or the people that they are accustomed to sort of like gravitating towards them. So they're attracted to you, it feels like, as somebody that's different from others, and yet at the same point in time is kind of like, you're somebody that brings like life force energy in. You bring different perspectives in. This may even be somebody that like wants to collaborate with you professionally, but then they've also got like a crush on you, because it's kind of given that sort of, this is almost somebody that's kind of like, what do you need? What do you need to kind of like further your goals? I'd love to get on board with whatever you have going on, because even though it may be something which is kind of, there's like a rebelliousness to this, or kind of like, you know, again, like a pushback sort of energy, but this is something that it's kind of like this fills this person with a sense of being invigorated that they haven't felt in years, or maybe ever. So let's take a look and see if they're going to make their interest in you or their intentions known soon or at all. Okay, so we have potential, miracles, and wisdom. Yeah, so this is somebody that feels like it's a journey to get access to you. Maybe you're somebody that's got your walls up very high, you got your boundaries up high, you got your discernment up high, or they could have be a person that was originally from a chapter of your life that you walked away from or closed. And so there's a sense of sort of like, how would I approach this individual and they wouldn't just tell me off? Or how would I approach this individual and they wouldn't immediately become skeptical? Like, what do you want? What's your angle? What's your agenda? What are you doing here? After all this time, or, you know, maybe again, like this could be from a circumstance in your past of like things and people, places and things you had to walk away from, or that's no longer a part of your reality, where there's a fear that you wouldn't like take them seriously, or your guard would just kind of automatically go up against this person because of that. Or there may be something that they'd have to have like a good reason to sort of like reach out in some sort of way. So it feels like they're taking a slow and steady approach, because they know that if you're cordial, if you're friendly, if you're willing to, you know, engage in conversation, if you're going to talk to them, if you're going to hear them out, if you'll agree to get together with them, to meet up with them, to have dinner, have coffee, have drinks, whatever that looks like, that they, you know, can't just kind of fill you with all these compliments, you know, that you're somebody that's kind of gonna just like, yeah, okay, but cut to the chase. What do you want? Or, you know, that it might just be kind of a one-off experience and then you go your own way. Because there's these kind of, this undertone here where this person may want to kind of like collaborate with you professionally speaking. So it might even be where they're trying to sort of like balance that within themselves. Like, okay, you know, what do I lead with? Kind of this professional interest, romantic curiosity, you know, any sort of like, again, like an age difference between the two of you, or anything where they are, you know, kind of a person from a chapter of your life that you've closed out or you've moved away from. there's a sense of almost like, how are they going to view you? Or how are you going to view them? How are you going to kind of interpret or perceive this level of interest where they can kind of like, they can take the right road to get to you because they want the best of both worlds. There's almost like in this person's mind, like ideally you would kind of combine forces as like, business partners, romance. It'd be kind of like power couple, happily ever after, but there's a sense of like, okay, but what road do I take to get there? How do we merge or combine in that sense? Maybe we'd only be good as one thing and not as the other. Would I deprive either of us of an opportunity if I, move too quickly one way or the other? And so it feels like something that they may try to kind of just sit and watch or sit and observe in some sort of way and kind of prepare themselves almost to kind of like give you some sort of full disclosure, something that is more than just kind of like they start, liking your posts or the, your pictures on social media or whatever that looks like, but something where it's kind of like there's a sense of like a big sort of conversation or like a long email, something that is very detailed that they want to kind of like give to you so that you understand, like they want you to take them seriously in some sort of way. But there may also be a level of kind of nervousness of sort of like, okay, how do I get these more practical kind of elements of interest out there on the table when I'm also crushing hard on this person, not just because you're attractive, you're sexy, they like the physical presentation of you, but there's something where you've really stimulated this person intellectually. Your mind attracts this person. And so this is kind of like out of their element and comfort zone as well. Like they've never experienced anyone that thought-provoking or in this kind of way. And so there's a sense of sort of like a slow, consistent approach. So yes, it feels like they're gonna say something, they're gonna make their intentions known, but it's almost kind of like now they're in this challenge place of kind of like, okay, there's some miles that need to be crossed. There's a terrain, there's a distance that needs to be kind of scouted out and traversed in some sort of way. So what's the right road? What's the right approach? What's the proper aspect to kind of do this in? So let's get some initials. This can be a first, middle, or last name, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got G, H, N, C, G, Z, V, P, E, T, J, N, U, M, D, M, and W. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you'd like a personal reading, there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another video. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. You chose the clear quartz. So let's start by taking a look at who's got a crush on you right now. Okay, we have the Ace of Swords, Six of Wands, and the Three of Swords. So with these energies, I'm hearing I messed everything up. So it feels like this is somebody where there may have been like a false start, something that was like misinterpreted or like misrepresented in terms of what they had said, what they had expressed, what they had tried to convey to you. that you took the wrong way. They spoke too soon. This could have been somebody that thought they were ready to give love a chance, and then they got cold feet. They backed away. This could have been somebody that kind of like piqued your interest. They reached out to you first. They knocked on your door. You opened up and let them in, and then they kind of dropped the ball as far as pursuing you, or, you know, kind of being consistent with you in some sort of way. It's somebody that you're in like no communication with at this point in time, that wants to try again. They want to start over. They want to start from the beginning. They want to clarify certain things. They are hoping that you didn't like give up on them, or that it's not too late to turn things around. Somebody that wants a do-over, somebody that wants a reset. This doesn't feel like anyone that had returned to an ex, or, you know, had somebody else on the side. Like, it doesn't feel like anything where there was like a third party issue, but it might have been something where they started to catch feelings for you, and they weren't really ready to kind of trust in those, and so they kind of like closed off. They froze. They sort of like said something that didn't come out right, or it might have even been just very vague. It left a lot to the imagination, and you took that the wrong way, and it created a disruption between the two of you. That there's a sense of kind of like, I'm really attracted to you. I really like want to make this work. This can even be somebody that like, it's not totally off the table, but you've kind of like, there's silence between the two of you, because there's, again, the sense of like something came out wrong. I was trying to let you know one thing and you took it to be something else, where it's given them some kind of perspective, it feels like, maybe even on wounds that you have, trust issues that you have that they weren't necessarily aware of, that they've now kind of stepped on a tripwire, and it's almost like a wall's gone up between the two of you. And so there's a sense of like, how do I come back from this? Because I want to move forward with you. I want you to open up. I want you to let me in. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want you to think I'm just trying to play you, or create chaos for you. But there's also the sense of that this is somebody that's had some kind of like awareness that their level of communication, it's almost like you're at a threshold with one another. Like, for this situation to continue, they got to be more clear. They got to be more open. They can't just kind of suggest certain things. They can't just be in the energy of kind of assuming that you're on the same page with one another. It's almost kind of like it's run its course in terms of whatever the nature of the exchange has been up to this point in time. And there's a sense of like, this is somebody that, in order to kind of pivot things to the next level, there's got to be more openness. There's got to be more clarity on their part in some sort of way. This may be somebody who it's very hard for them to talk about their feelings. This may be somebody that gets kind of flustered or tongue-tied when it comes to talking about their feelings. This may be somebody that you ask them point blank, kind of like, you know, where is this headed? Where is this going? Are you really interested in me? Are you really invested in this? Could be like a hot, cold kind of energy. And so this is almost like the ball has been placed in their court. Like, you're not waiting around for them, or you've kind of like, the situation sort of closed off in some sort of way. And in order for things to kind of like move to the next level, they've got to come in and like explain certain things. They've got to come in and make certain things clear to you. If this is somebody that you were dealing with in the past, where there was a lot of chemistry, a lot of potential, it seemed like something that would evolve, and then they kind of just dropped off, or the situation went kind of stagnant or went sort of cold, and you're like, well, okay, I guess that was a waste of time. I guess that wasn't going to amount to anything. And so you just kind of like pushed forward with your life in some sort of way. This is a person that has a lot of regret over not making things more clear to you as far as kind of like what they were feeling or experiencing inside, things that may have even sort of, again, tripped them up in terms of like falling too quickly for you, fears of getting hurt in the like they had in the past that may have led to self-sabotage. Hearing the master of self-sabotage with the Six of Wands. So this may be somebody who, kind of in the bigger sense in their life, there have been instances where it's kind of like, okay, things are good, and then I say something or I do something and they fall apart, and this is somebody that kind of like owns that part of themselves, that sort of shadowy quality about them in some sort of way, that they've kind of like, they've mastered that sort of wreckage. This may be somebody who has a lot of different things that they've sort of like started in their life, but then they fail to see it through to completion. Or somebody that's had to start over at different points, you know, maybe not even through anything that they've done wrong, but just kind of somebody that has been dealt a really kind of unfair hand of cards in this life. They've struggled to sort of find their way or make a way in the world. And so this is somebody that it feels like in the past might have almost thought they bit off more than they could chew as far as the situation with you is concerned, or their feelings, or, you know, kind of the pace at which your conversations were headed. This may be somebody where it was like a friend, and then they caught feelings and that scared them, freaked them out. And so they said things or they did things to kind of like push you away, or, you know, something that created confusion within. And you might have been the one that kind of cut the situation off, sort of like, I know my worth. I've been there, done that in this capacity with other people. I'm not doing that again. You know, so you may have been the one that kind of like put that wall up and you know, just kind of matched their energy in some sort of way, or, you know, they gave you confusion and you responded with closed energy. And so this is somebody that feels like that wants another opportunity to like reconcile in some sort of way, or to get the conversation started again. So let's take a look at, oh, and this may be somebody with the swords energy, that there could have been a lot of like texting, DMing on social media, that may have been something that led to a lot of the confusion, like things getting lost in translation. There could definitely be a language barrier between the two of you, or something where through virtual communications, you're only able to like read the words that they're typing, but you weren't able to necessarily, you know, hear the inflection in their voice. You weren't able to read their body language, or the way in which they phrased something, or, you know, maybe they were very eager with the communication, then it became more inconsistent. They were kind of up and down with that, and that might have been something that really kind of triggered you, like, okay, is this person just stringing me along? Are they just trying to love bomb me? Are they, you know, what are they doing? Is this somebody's just trying to catfish me? Like, what's happening here? And that might have been something that, you know, led to closure in this situation, or has given you, if it's still somebody that you're like communicating with somewhat, there could be like a reason to kind of doubt this circumstance or the situation, sort of like, I don't know what their intentions are, but something doesn't feel aligned with kind of what I'm looking for. And so this may be something where they're kind of aware that you've like taken a step back from this, or you're not as open or enthusiastic as you were with them at a point in time, sort of earlier on in your experience with one another. So let's take a look at what they like best about you. Okay, we have partnership, the mystery, and restriction. So they are very attracted to the fact that you put your foot down, that you said no, that you maybe gave them an ultimatum, that you haven't just put up with their nonsense or with this experience that they've given you in the past, or that is currently the case between the two of you. There's a sense that they're very drawn to the fact that kind of like, if we can get over this hurdle, what is possible in terms of like that kiss and make up sort of experience for the two of us. This is something that this person feels really bad, it feels like, about anything where they've kind of stumbled in this situation, anything that came out wrong, that you took offense to, that they didn't say right, that triggered certain wounds within you, fears within you. There's a sense that they didn't like want to cause you distress, but they're very attracted to the fact that it's very abundantly clear, like you've made it clear to them that they can't just come back in with sort of like changed energy. They got to provide some kind of outward explanation. You're done being coy in this situation, or allowing this person to be coy. They got to disclose it all, or you don't mind pushing forward. You don't wait around for anyone, and they find that to be very attractive because it feels like it's causing this person, they're attracted to the way that they are now at this point in time forced to sort of like look at something within them that motivated them to be wishy-washy. Fears of circumstances from past connections, past relationships, a past marriage, whatever that is, kind of repeating itself in the circumstance with you that may have made them very enthusiastic to move towards you, and then they kind of like faltered. There's a sense of almost like they're attracted to the fact that they're forced to heal or close out from those wounds, or holding on to that kind of fear if they hope to have a part in your story moving forward. Because there's a sense that you're not, again, like waiting around. You're somebody that values yourself. You got a lot of integrity. You got a lot of self-respect. You're willing to kind of just enjoy your own company rather than keep poor company around you. You're not someone that's going to like settle for confusion. You're not going to tolerate things that disrupt your peace, that interrupt your inner harmony, or that are reflective of some kind of cycle that you've broken out of or closed out of from previous manifestation of yourself, a previous chapter in your experience. So all of that is very attractive to them, that you are somebody that your standards are very high. It's a privilege to be in your presence. You value your energy and your time, and you're not just going to spread yourself thin. You're not just going to give yourself away. And so there's a sense as well that they're very attracted to the fact that you lead with love, and you are actually teaching this person what it means to love oneself. Like to love oneself enough to step away from and to close off to anything that doesn't reflect that same level of self-respect and self-love back to you. It doesn't matter who it is or what it is. That you're someone with a very low tolerance for bullshit at this point in your life, or with this person. And so this is something that it feels like it's shaken them awake to these deeper kind of like feelings that they have. This goes beyond a crush. It's maybe somebody who is like falling in love with you, or fell in love with you and was like, I can't handle that. And they kind of like, ran off or closed off in some sort of way. That self-sabotage component of the shadow was brought to the surface. This is somebody sitting, it feels like, in Five of Pentacles energy. And they're very attracted to the fact that like you're a living example of what it means to hold that experience inside, or to have that be a lived reality, and to still move forward beyond it. To choose to kind of accept that and move in the direction of something better. There's a sense that they're very attracted to the exchange between the two of you. That like from the moment that they met you or started talking to you, it felt very comfortable to open up. The more they got to know you, they're very attracted to the fact that the communication, when it's good, it flows like two old friends. Almost like a past life connection where you're just picking up where you left off from. They feel very comfortable in your presence, very invited to kind of step into, with all this green here, this like heart chakra energy. They feel very invited to step into that kind of emotional space. You've activated this person's heart chakra. You've opened their heart chakra. And with all of these kind of like emotions that are swimming around, there's also a lot of wounds, a lot of fears, a lot of kind of deficiencies within, like that tendency to self-sabotage, that have come to the surface, where there's a sense of they're attracted to, like, even if you don't take them back, even if you won't give them the time of day, even if this is kind of like, this is it, this is done for the two of you, you've shined a light on how they can be better. You've shown them a very unique experience of love or care or, exchange with another human being, where they feel they have become better after the experience of you. Rather than being left worse for wear, you've toppled some sort of an expectation or like a bias towards love. They were very jaded towards love and romance. Even if they were the one that initiated this circumstance, they were skeptical about love and partnership, but they approached you. They reached out. They made the first move. You opened up. You let them in. Things happen. They dropped the ball, or the communication's kind of wonky between the two of you right now. There's a sense of like you've illuminated the way forward towards like a better relationship with themselves, and another way that love or partnership can be experienced. Not as something that has to hurt, but as something that has the ability to heal. So let's take a look at what else they find attractive about you. Okay, we have loss, lack, fear, victimization, touching earth, planting something new, and achievement, effort plus intention. Yeah, so there's a sense that this person is very attracted to the fact that you don't live in a victim mentality. You're not going to tolerate any less than you deserve. You keep a very tight circle. You're very choosy with who you let in close to you. And so there's almost something where, because this person feels that there's been some kind of interruption in the harmony between the two of you, something that they need to explain, something that it feels like created emotional hurt or wounding, or like a misunderstanding. Maybe it triggered a wound within you, and you've kind of pulled back to consciously or unconsciously kind of face your shadow in some sort of way, or there's something then that needs to be faced within their shadow about how their communication needs to improve, or it's time to kind of create encounters with one another that go beyond the forum where you've been exchanging currently, that has led to kind of so much getting lost in translation, or so much that kind of like brings about an experience of there's all this kind of draw towards one another, and yet as much as you're kind of like pulled to one another, there's also these experiences of recoiling. And all of that's been very informative for them in some sort of way. I'm hearing I'm a better person because of you. So it's almost something where they've had to kind of like sit within this energy of feeling bad, and you're the only person that's been able to kind of get through to them in terms of like things that they need to change, things that they need to leave behind them, as far as like regrets of the past, or, something that they were kind of holding on to in terms of like a pessimism or a jadedness towards love, because it's almost like their intentions for romance, or the experience that you've had where things have been very like good, it's flowed very well between the two of you. There was nowhere for that to exist, to take root, to kind of ground into like a real reality, while they were still holding like this hurt or this fear of being hurt from past experiences, while that was still an energy within them that they were bringing to the table within this situation. So they're very attracted to the way in which you've taught them that through your boundaries, through removing their access to you, or, not kind of like chasing after them once they pushed you away. There's a sense that they're also very attracted to kind of like something that you're working towards in your life in terms of like a long-term goal, that it feels like demonstrates in some sort of way how you have alchemized kind of whatever the conditions or obstacles that you've been faced with, whatever odds were stacked against you in your life. You have not let that thwart you. You've not let that stop you. You've not let that discourage you. You keep going when other people would have given up. You keep believing in yourself and your bigger dreams, even when it's still, quite an uphill climb to achieve those things. And so there's something about like your work ethic, your belief in self, your ability to kind of like self-soothe or self-motivate, that it feels like, to tie back into this idea of like partnership, there's a sense of almost like they're very attracted to the fact that it's not just a proclamation of like, we can become the best versions of ourselves together, but you're actually like, you do that work regardless of if you have somebody else around, regardless of like, if this person's on the same page with that, or whoever has been kind of, in that place of romantic interest for you at various stages of your reality, you keep evolving into that better version of yourself. There's a sense here too that this person feels you're very hard on yourself. You don't give yourself enough credit, and they're very attracted to the fact that you stimulate some sort of tenderness within them. Like, I want to help to kind of alleviate that sense of burden that you feel. I want to help soften that energy where you feel like you have to be perfect, or you have to keep kind of like working towards something, that you're not already the best version of yourself, that there's, other things that need to be kind of done. It's almost like a nurture that's kind of brought out within this person that comes very naturally. And it feels like whatever might have been part of the miscommunication that happened in the past for some of you, that kind of led to this uncertainty about like, I don't know if there's a future potential here, like what's happening. There may have been something where they were trying to kind of like nurture or encourage or, get you to kind of like go easy on yourself in some sort of way. And it was taken the wrong way, or it came out wrong. And this caused this person to kind of like clench up into themselves, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just said that. I can't believe I just did that. I can't believe that I kind of like made them think that. I can't believe it came out like that, because now they're assuming something else. Or I've created a burden for this person now that they're going to have to kind of like be cautious when they're dealing with me. Like in some way they feel that they've triggered you. And so that maybe, or there may be like a fear of triggering you, which it feels like it attracts them to you because there's a sense of like, you're important, you're meaningful to me. I want to move beyond this place of wherever the communication or the experience is at now. I want to create something real. I want to create something lasting. I want to create something long-term with you. And in order to do that, it's almost like they gotta shed a version of themselves and excavate something else. They gotta lean into that energy of wanting to nurture. And it feels like that is something where they just kind of, they naturally embody not just the best version of themselves, but the right version of themselves in context with you. So let's take a look and see if they are going to make their intentions or their continued interest in you known soon or at all. Okay, we have leadership, action, and wonders. Yeah, so it feels like this person is getting ready to bring themselves out from the cold. They're getting ready to knock on that door. They're getting ready to state their case, present something to you. They want to make something crystal clear. They want to make something obvious because there was too much that was vague between the two of you before, or there was something where there's been a wound that has been triggered within them or within you, that it's like, we need to talk about this. We need to get this out on the table. We need to present this clearly so that you understand where I'm coming from. You're able to meet me where I'm at, but you also see like, I don't want it to just be like, take it or leave it. This is all that there is. It's like, I want us to work through this. I want us to be able to kind of evolve beyond this. I want to ascend beyond this layer of our experience with one another. This is somebody that it feels like is pushing against every instinct within them to kind of resist the change or the evolution that is necessary in order to kind of like resume a place in your life, or to get back into kind of like harmony and flow with one another. Or maybe this is a very courageous action that they need to take to speak that truth, to make something clear, to have that conversation, to get that all out in the open. Because there's a sense of like, I don't know how you're going to receive that. I don't know how you're going to take that. I don't know if it's too little, too late. But there's a sense of almost like they need to kind of go against the grain in some sort of way. And so this is somebody that's with all that like yellow energy, that like solar plexus chakra, that personal empowerment. It's like, I need to do this. I need to express this. I need to let you know. I can't just be sitting here in this like stranded on the shoreline energy while you're setting sail for different horizons. You're moving on towards different experiences, or there's been something that has been kind of like dismantled or set awry between the two of us, that I want to fix this. I want to evolve. I want to grow. I want another opportunity. I want a second chance. I want a do-over. I want to try again. So it feels like, again, this is somebody that is getting ready to go out on a limb. They're getting ready to take that chance. This is somebody that feels like they can't wait for the stars to align. They have to take action and do that. But there is no perfect time other than the present to kind of like say something. So for a lot of you, this is somebody who is getting ready to make communication pretty soon. With this polar bear here, it's reminding me of like winter energy here in the northern hemisphere. We're just about in winter. We're like right on the cusp of winter solstice. So this may be somebody you hear from like over the holidays, maybe towards the beginning of the year, over the winter months. This is kind of like, they miss you. They want to speak to you. They want to see you. They want to resume something. They want to pick up where you left off. They want to take a chance on this situation, that it's not too little too late, and that you can kind of clear up any misunderstandings, that you can get back to the start with one another, that you can kind of move beyond these choppy waters. Anything that's been upset emotionally, anything that's been triggered within each of you emotionally, that you can kind of like work with one another or be patient with one another in kind of moving beyond those things, kind of swimming against the current, because they miss you, and they see this as a circumstance that is not something that they want to kind of just fade off into the distance, or to just kind of remain in the realm of memory. So let's get some initials. This could be a first, middle, or last name, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got T, C, S, V, R, N, O, B, E, F, I, R, B, G, and P. So those are your messages. I hope they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you would like a personal reading, there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another video. Please take care and be well.